السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ولي المؤمنين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين. وبعد. This hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, as in the case with anything from the Sunnah, if we were to take one portion of it and keep it with us for the rest of our lives, then with Allah's aid and support, we may find guidance, we may find ease, we may find relief from the difficulties that we face in our lives. The Prophet ﷺ informed us, keeping it brief and sharing the Arabic for the sake of time, the translation of which is, "He is not a part of my ummah who does not honor our elders." We're not even going to mention the second part and the third part of the hadith, nor have mercy on our young ones, nor acknowledge the rights of our scholars. We're not even going to talk about the right of that and what that means. Just the first part. He is not a part of my ummah. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, you're not from my people. You're not from. It's not takfir. Allah's not making takfir, or the Prophet ﷺ is not making takfir on the person who disrespects the elders. It doesn't invalidate your deen, okay? Rather, it goes to show the severity of a person who does not honor the elders from amongst our nation. So many ahadith, so many concepts in the Quran, so many statements of the scholars that talk about how important it is for us to respect our elders. Why should we respect our elders? First and foremost, I'm going to give you the most practical reason from another hadith. It's because Allah had given them tawfiq to live to be an elder. We're young. We don't know if we'll die tomorrow. Even if the only thing to be measured against them versus us is that Allah had given them long enough life to live with this deen and see gray hair, that enough should be a sign from you that whether you agree with them, whether you disagree with them, no matter how wicked they are, no matter how cultural they are, no matter how political they are, no matter what evil assumption you have of them, no matter what, Allah loved them enough to give them a long life. How many people's lives have been cut short before they even knew La ilaha illallah? How many people had lived on the face of this planet that had lived and died young and old and never knew La ilaha illallah? But Allah had given the tawfiq to the elders from this community, from that community, within the DFW, whether they're in the board, the shura, a committee, whether they're involved in the masjid or otherwise, whether they only show up for Jumu'ah, whether they only come for Ramadan, Allah had given them a long enough life to know La ilaha illallah. That is sufficient of a sign for us to respect them, because they have reached a guarantee that we haven't, which is that they grew old with the deen of Allah. Out of mere taqwa of Allah alone, to know this is enough for us to never raise our voice when we talk to them, ever in a million years. How would it be that we stand before Allah on the day of judgment, and Allah had given this person a long life of tasbih, of salawat, of dhikr, of Quran, more Ramadans than us? We know the hadith about the two friends. One lived to see one extra Ramadan. How many Ramadans have they been blessed to see? How many times were they able to make Umrah? Some of them had already made Hajj. We hadn't even made it there yet. How will it be that we stand before Allah on the day of judgment, and Allah had given them the tawfiq in lifespan and just pure quantity of ibadah? We're not even talking quality, because Allah will be the one that judges whether it's acceptable or not. Allah had given them all of that, and on the day of judgment we stand before Him disrespecting these people. May Allah forgive us. Ameen. So point number one, we should be, just knowing that they live long enough to have this deen and be great in it is enough for us to respect them. The second point, none of us would have a masjid if it wasn't for the collective efforts and combined resources of our elders. Who from this generation would collect the money, collect the funds, go to town hall, make sure that it is in line with the fire code, make sure that we have people who donate so that we can renovate the masjid, build it from the ground up. People like to talk about when the masjid was here, it was like this, and now that we've moved here, it's like that. You never would have had a masjid in the first place if these people who came from back home, yes, they're cultural, yes, they have a back home mentality, but it was their attachment to the house of Allah back home that made them establish it here. We wouldn't have it if it wasn't for them. Who from this generation would take their minimum wage paychecks, would work a job, use their disposable income to donate to build the house of Allah? Every prayer you pray in the masjid, they get the hasanat for it. And who are we to invalidate that? We wouldn't have it if it wasn't for them. They set the tone for us to have a masjid to complain about in the first place. Do you know how much ujur, how much rewards these people are collecting every single day? Yeah, but they're this, and yeah, they say that. That doesn't matter. Allah had given them the tawfiq to do an act of worship that maybe none of us will even have the opportunity to do because they already did it. Our only job is just to come occupy the space and leave. They already put the groundwork. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years in this country, dedicating their lives so that while we may not be as cultural, while we may be more knowledgeable, we may not be as jahil, we probably aren't as racist, we're not as critical as these people. They dedicated their lives so that we could have the house of Allah. Do we even think? May Allah forgive us all. Ameen. So how dare one of us walk into the house of Allah and scream or yell or argue with these people? That's the second point. We wouldn't have a house of Allah if it wasn't for this generation of people who, yes, they came from back home. Yes, they're cultural. Yes, some of them are racist. Yes, some of them are stubborn. But wallahi, we're not endorsing poor behavior. But if anyone has the right for us to overlook their faults, it's them. Period. We're not even as critical of the people in this country who run this country as we are of the people who run the masjid. At least we have a masjid. The verse from Surah Al-Jinn, chapter 72, verse 29, the masajid are for Allah. They're Allah's house. You may not agree with everything, but they did that. They put that there. Prophet ﷺ informed us, we have it in regular hadith, we have it in hadith Qudsi, that the best place on the face of the planet are the masajid. Wallahi, what are we doing? What are we doing? Arguing with these people who make it okay for us to have masajid. Do you know how hard it is to run a nonprofit organization? I'll tell you because I'm the COO of one. And it's la fakhr. We're not bragging. I was the vice chair of a masjid. Wa la fakhr. This is not boasting. It's hard. All these people care about is their brand. Do you have any idea what the expenses of a masjid are every single month? Do you know how much it is to have a multi-million-dollar facility? You know how much water Muslims waste? Imagine the water bill for a masjid. You know that Muslims don't turn off the lights. Imagine the light bill for a masjid. You know that when Muslims enter masajid, they don't care about wear and tear. Imagine the upkeep for a masjid. So yeah, they're going to be a little territorial about donors. Yeah, they are. And yeah, they're going to do everything they can to get people to come to the masjid and donate because it's a non-profit organization. The people who run it don't make any money from running it. None of them make money from running it. Yeah, they just want power. Yeah, they just want to be in charge. They just want to say that they're doing it. If that's their niyyah, then that's between them and Allah. Who are you to call it out? Should we start talking about your niyyah between you and Allah of why you only go to the masjid to see your friends and why you aren't putting yourself in a position to run the masjid? How you only come to the masjid to sit in the back and use the Wi-Fi to watch whatever you're watching in the masjid? Do you want us to question the niyyah of the youth who go to the masjid? How you only go to play basketball? How if there wasn't these glitz and glitter programs, if the money that's donated didn't create a space for you to come play, you wouldn't even go? Do we want to start questioning our own intentions? No? Okay, then why are we questioning the intentions of these people? You may not like the means to the end, and all of it is not justified. Wallahi, we're not justifying poor behavior. We're not justifying poor manners. But notice how in this hadith, Allah did not or the Prophet ﷺ did not mention any of those things. He says, you're not from my ummah if you don't honor the elders. If you don't honor them, then you're not from this ummah. Regardless of what they say, regardless of what they do, regardless of how you feel about them, they still deserve to be honored. I hope that point makes a lot of sense. And I hope the previous one did too. Now, my final point, and I know that this is long, and I don't mean to give you guys a khutbah on a day other than Jumu'ah, but I need all of us to understand this collectively because it's really, really serious. It's really serious. No matter how we feel about each other at the end of the day, we are all Muslim brothers and sisters. We're all brothers and sisters in Islam. These people, it's easy, and I've mentioned this before. You know, Nietzsche, a sociologist of old and a philosopher of old. Now, this isn't an endorsement for ilm al-kalam or anything like that. Don't make takfir on me, and don't make a YouTube video. Just listen to the fawaid and take me and put me to the side. Just take the khair, inshallah. Nietzsche, he has this concept in psychosocial theory known as common enemies. The more vague a common enemy is, the easier it is to galvanize people behind that common enemy, to unite people against the common enemy. And a perfect example of it is sports. Oh, we all hate the Golden State Warriors. Thank God their dynasty is dead. Steve Kerr is a great human being for all intents and purposes. Non-Muslim, but from what people say about him, he's a fantastic person. Steph Curry is pretty humble for a superstar. All of the three people on their team, their core members, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. You may not like Draymond Green, but you can't argue with the Splash Brothers. They're nice people. And they were all drafted to that team. They didn't pick to go there. They were drafted there. KD, okay, burner accounts and all this stuff, khalas. And some people will hear this and they'll be like, what is he talking about? But the ones who know, you know. But you see how easy it is to remove the individuals and to just look at Golden State Warriors? You see how easy it is to forget Bill Belichick? Well, maybe you don't forget Bill Belichick. Maybe you don't forget Tom either. But all of the other people on their team besides Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, who do you know on the Patriots? You see how easy it is to galvanize a group of people against the Patriots? Now let's use an example that we're all familiar of, whether we watch basketball or football. What about terrorism? What does terrorism even look like? Do we know what that means? Can you feel it in your hand? Can you see it with your eyes? It's an invisible thing. Before they used to try to make it about Muslims, but now you have non-Muslims going and shooting up places of worship in schools and malls and Walmarts, and now they're considered terrorists too. It's vague, but it's easy to say we all hate it. We all hate terrorism. None of us endorse it. And we all unite against it. People do the same thing with boards of masajid. Most people who are in the boards of masajid are normally the ones who donate the most money. This isn't a shot at any given masjid. It's true. They're financially invested in the success of the masjid. Donate. They're not making money back. They're donating it. So they put themselves in position, oh, but they don't know the ahkam of Islam, and they don't know. Okay, well, you know it. Why don't you donate so that you can be there too? Well, I don't have the money, brother. Okay, when are we going to give up on these excuses and let it go? If you have the knowledge of the deen and they have the bag, they have the money to support it, then why don't you try to advise them sincerely instead of arguing with them and backbiting your brothers in Islam? Because that's what it all amounts to. A lot of ghiba, a lot of namima, a lot of hams, a lot of lems, a lot of kadhib, a lot of sins of the tongue. And everything you say about these people, whether you know their faces or not, the board, the board, the board. Oh, the board, they're so controlling. Oh, the board, they're so like this. Oh, the board, the board, the board. Every time you say that about them, if you're lying, you've slandered them. If what you're saying is true, then you're gossiping. If you see something wrong, change it with your tongue, change it with your hand, or hate it in your heart. What about the hadith? Or change it with your pen. What about the hadith says complain amongst yourselves and demonize a group of people that are doing the best they can? What if we did that to one another? Wouldn't we all be sad? Of course we would. We're all doing the best that we can. And understanding that, we need to respect the people who are doing the best that they can. Again, look, I'm not a politician. All of you all know that I keep it 100. I don't need to impress anybody. I don't need anyone but Allah. And I'm firm upon that lifestyle. And those of you who know, you know. But even though this is the case, we need to stop creating this invisible enemy of the board. Advise them. Be gentle with them. But no matter what, never ever dishonor and disrespect them. That's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. Wallahi, we need to think. We need to think about the standing before Allah. We have to think about that. The sins that we say on our tongues, like in the story of the Ifk of Aisha radiallahu anha in Surah An-Nur, you say it on your tongue and it's light on your lips, but in the sight of Allah, it's great. Hadith Imam An-Nawawi had put from the books of Sunan and Riyadh al-Salihin, a person says something with their mouth and they're not thinking about it. But the sinfulness of it to Allah is enough to sink them in darakat and descending ranks into Jahannam, the distance between the east and the west. We got to think. Speak good or keep silent. We all know the hadith, Arba'in an-Nawawi, that the one who believes in Allah on the last day, speak good or be quiet. Oh, well, brother, sometimes we can backbite. No. Where? Show me the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ gave this exception. We've mentioned many hadith by now. Are we going to find an excuse to not follow the sunnah? Of course not. So let's follow the sunnah, because by doing that, that will put us in the best position to help the people who are in charge. Because the people who are in charge, the people who are famous, the scholars who are famous, the boards who run the masajid, the people who donate in the background, the quote-unquote kingmakers of every community, they need our help too. Will you give up on your brothers? Would you like it if Allah gave up on you? Of course not. So keep this in advisement, brothers. Please never forget these words and keep it with you for the rest of your life. Because we want to be from the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and if we don't honor our elders, we will never get that status. May Allah forgive us all. Ameen. So now I've already sent well over 15 minutes worth of voice messages. And I hope you listen to each and every single one of them. May Allah have mercy on you. Ameen. You may not like how I say it. You may not like the way I put it. But inshallah, what I'm saying is right. And if I'm wrong, advise me. Wallahi, you'll find me to be amongst the most advisable. I'm not a sheikh. I'm not Shaykh al-Islam. I'm not a faqih. I'm not a mufassir. I'm not muhaddith. I'm just a Muslim like each and every single one of you doing the best that he can. And as such, it's easy for me to look at those who are like me, Muslims doing the best that they can, but better than me because they do more than I can. And it's easy for me to make excuses for them because I need Allah to find excuses to pardon someone as sinful as me. I need it. Now, you may not. Maybe you have the Willy Wonka golden ticket to Jannah. Maybe. But maybe not. And if so, then keep this in mind and keep it with you forever. Wallahi, keep this with you forever. Please. So now understanding all of this, honor the elders. Yes, it's important. So what do we do with it? How do we do it? How do we make it happen? Very, very easy. Be gentle with them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us in Surah An-Nazi'at that Fir'aun, he got up in front of his people and he told them that he is the Rabb al-A'la. He said that I am your Lord, the Most High. He took al-Asma al-Husna that only belongs to Allah. Even Shaitan, look in the entire Quran. Where does Shaitan say he's Allah? He doesn't even say he's Allah. He doesn't even say I'm your Rabb, the Most High. But Fir'aun was such a despicable human being that he said that. Now look at Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam is so strong that just by hitting someone, he accidentally killed him. Do you think that it would be hard for Musa to kill Fir'aun? He was strong, alayhi salam. Musa grew up in the house of Fir'aun. He knew him. He knew who he was. He could have attacked him personally. And if you look in the verses in Shu'ara, you see that Fir'aun, he attacks him personally. This guy, look at this guy. He starts making fun of him. He's mocking him. Musa could have done the same. He lived in his home. He knew his faults. But Allah commanded him in Surah Taha or Tihi to speak to him in a way that's layyin. Verse 44, chapter 20, verse 44. Talk to him with a way that is layyin. It doesn't matter what you think about the board. It doesn't matter what you think about the imam. It doesn't matter what you think about your parents. It doesn't matter what you think about your family. They're not Fir'aun. None of them are Fir'aun. So if that's the case for Fir'aun, where a prophet of Allah could have really decimated him and torn into him and destroyed him if he wanted to, he spoke to him in a way that's layyin, then how much more so for us? And it's not just that Musa spoke to him in a way that's layyin. Fir'aun, he ridiculed him, he mocked him, he tortured Musa's people. You know, some scholars said that before they made Hijrah, that happened for 40 years, 40 years. But he still spoke to them in a way that was layyin. If that's the case for Musa alayhi salam, do we reflect on the Quran? Do we actually think about it? Then how much more so for our elders? So yes, my brothers and sisters and anyone else who hears this message, yes, you can talk to them. Yes, you can tell them what you want. Yes, you can advise them. No one is unadvisable. This deen is nasiha. The well-known hadith of Prophet ﷺ, the whole of the religion is advice and sincerity. Sincere advice. You can do it. But if you think that you are going to get people to do what you want, it's a saying, I'm from Kentucky, this is kind of country, but just bear with me. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. If you're sweet, you'll get more people to come to your side than if you're sour. You will drive people away from you. Even if you find it difficult to bear with the culture, with the jahiliyyah of not knowing the deen that well. Look, you're young and you have spongy brains. That's great. You can learn fiqh salah and you can learn this, that, and the third. That's fantastic. May Allah bless you, increase you in knowledge. But every Nabi was given hikmah first, then knowledge. So if we are just pumping knowledge and we don't have hikmah, then where do you think we're going to land up? We're going to land somewhere other than where the prophets landed. So yes, you can talk to them. Yes, you can advise them. Put yourselves together, articulate yourselves in an easy way. And even if they turn away, at least you did your part. The rest is with Allah. The verse in Surah Al-Anfal, chapter 8, verse number 23, the hearts, Allah comes between people in their own chest. Do your part, trust Allah with the rest. So be patient, be patient. If this is the state of the ummah where we can barely even deal with talking to elders in our community, then no wonder we're going through what we're going through. May Allah forgive all of us. May Allah have mercy on each and every single one of us. And may Allah allow for us to honor our elders. Because we ask Allah to give us long lives of hasanat and good deeds. And a'udhu billah, I seek refuge in Allah that we reach a day where we're old and we have kids that disrespect us in our masjid. Subhanallah. هذا وما ساقه ابن متى عيسى أخيكم فمن سيب جود الرب والزل تغفري عسى الله ينفعني به بنواله برحماه يعم النفع بين يدي الدهر وأهدي صلاة الله ثم سلامه على أحمد الهدي إلى سبل البر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.